Hi everyone, I am Dhruti Shah, and once again with another beautiful host, Krishma, with another interesting conversation. Thank you, Krishma, and welcome.
Yeah, very welcome. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. And so I'll let you start. Tell us something about your work.
So I'm an emotional and mental health coach. I work with many different modalities, and we launched a workshop called Empower Her a couple of months ago. That sort of has led me to realize that there's a lot more work that needs to happen in this field than we believe or than we realize, and how simple it really is. We don't have to go into detail. You don't have to go into trauma. You can cause shifts just by addressing really basic things within yourself. So I like to call it coaching rather than therapy, even though we do go deep dive into trauma, abuse, all sorts of things. But I realized coaching works better.
Okay, and you mentioned Empower Her. It's Empower Her, so it was for women, or?
It is. It's a women-centric workshop. We have it online.
Okay.
I'm hoping someday to have it in person.
Yeah.
Just to sort of help us take our power back, really, from wherever it may be.
It's beautiful, and I love what you said, that it's quite simple, and that something doesn't need to be wrong with anyone for them to have that. Start that.
Hence the coaching, right?
Yeah.
Because I think there's an affiliation with therapy, meaning there has to be a crisis, something has to be wrong with me. I have to be broken, because therapy to most people means getting fixed, which is really not the case. When you're shopping online, they call it retail therapy. You get your nails done, you go for a massage when you're on holiday. All of that is therapy. It's just we seem to have really zoned in on mental health and then labeled it in a certain way. So.
Yeah. And you said something doesn't have to be wrong with me. So now what I feel is wrong and what somebody else feels wrong is, again, so relative and different, right? Like,
absolutely.
If I am feeling lonely, I'm so in my head, and it's coming out in my sleep, or me putting on weight. So then there is something wrong with me. So then what are these signs, like, of something not in alignment or not right with someone?
So let me just put it out there that I'm very unconventional in my approach, in my protocols, as well as my perspective, okay? The first, for me, individually, the first sign that something's wrong is when you have a repetitive pattern.
Okay.
Where you commit to wanting to do something, but you won't do it. Whether it's walking, whether it's waking up at a certain time, whether it's keeping a diet, whatever it might be. It could be anything. It could be, from now on when I walk in, I'm going to put my shoes here, not here. It could be anything that you decide, but you can't see through.
But isn't that like, I've just listed in my head 10 things I can't keep up with. But out of that, 1 or 2 are like really crazy that affect my life.
Correct.
In a way that I really want it to change.
So the reason I said this is because we tend to find the small patterns, but if you zoom out enough, you'll find that there are bigger patterns.
Okay.
So that's a sign that there's something that needs to be looked at within yourself, okay? The other thing is emotional flatness. There are people who don't experience, you could be bursting in joy for nothing. I'm sure I know somebody like that, who can absolutely be doing backflips over seeing a butterfly or a flower, and then there's somebody else who's had a baby and who's like, yes, it's a good thing. They can process it logically, but emotionally, they're not really, they're not exploding with joy. So there's that emotional flatness, not being able to sustain relationships is another thing. Keeping busy.
Okay.
Constant need to remain busy is actually another sign that something's not being addressed inside.
But we've normalized this.
That's why we have, for example, in Kenya, 1 in 4 people who have mental health issues.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I was reading somewhere and it said we have 800,000 people that commit suicide every year.
That is so scary.
The world came to a standstill because apparently 1 million people died in COVID. But we have never noticed that these many people are choosing to end their lives. And it's because we have normalized ignoring certain signs, not addressing certain issues. Our lifestyles have gone from what they used to be. In any culture, there was always a time in the day that you took out just to stop, to retrospect, or maybe just to become still, whether that was family time, whether that was prayer, whether that was yoga, whether that was exercise. And we took away from that for so long. We're slowly now going back towards some of that. But yeah, so the need to be constantly busy is definitely a sign that something's not okay, because nobody wants to be on the hamster wheel constantly. So if you are, usually there's something you're avoiding. There's something you don't want to meet, and usually that's what's happening between your ears.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there might be people like, okay, some of them who are listening to this, I'm like, okay, I have this, but it's not that bad. So like, how bad do things have to be for us to wake up? And what's the impact? Like, when do you now start realizing that, now shit's hit the fan?
So it depends. See, there are people who are so driven, who have a goal, who will not rest until they achieve that. That's being ambitious is very different to constantly wanting to be busy. Okay. If that's what's happening with you or with somebody and they don't want to address it, it's fine. But if it's something you just don't want to look at, that means it's not necessarily very nice. And when you take something that's not very nice and leave it inside there to stew and to ferment and to brew, as far as I'm concerned, and actually out of what I've dealt with clients, you usually find that it does lead to ailments later on. They do talk about stress and chronic disease anyway. But it has been my experience that most people who suffer from things like cancer, really, if you go back, you will be able to identify certain aspects that have not been processed, because your body carries memory, right? So you can distract yourself here, but every experience of your life is logged inside your body. Epigenetics proves that now we could switch off and switch on certain genes, right? So it appears later.
There was a book I was reading on the same thing by Dr. Gabor Mate. It's a new book, When the Body Says No.
No, yes.
Oh my God! Every chapter, my heart just sank and it was a lot to do with people who felt suppressed or didn't have a voice, or had a voice but didn't know how to express, and they didn't work on all these issues, and then some autoimmune diseases that we've normalized. You talked about cancer, but some of these, thyroid, MS. Diabetes, a lot of these that we have now, normalized and say, oh, you've got thyroid, or after this number of, age.
It happens.
It's normal, just pop a pill every day. And he's like, no. So these are some of the diseases that we're, going towards and normalizing that, oh, don't work on your emotional, health.
See, so this is a choice that we make for ourselves, right? And then we go through the issues, which is one part of the equation. But as women, especially, actually the same applies to men. What most people don't realize is you pass on all these experiences to your children. So you need to address it, because otherwise you're setting them up. And every time you've laughed, every time you've cried, do you know every single thing is logged in your body? And it is definitely passed down to your children, which means they carry your cross for you. Have you met people who've not been doing so great, and then they have a child and suddenly things got better? This kid is so lucky for me. It's because they've taken off a lot of load from you.
Okay.
So they tend to carry the cross. We do something called systemic work.
Okay.
It's very interesting how it plays out in terms of genetic expression. And this is the other reason to stop and address these issues, because your patterns will become their patterns. So if you're not enjoying how it's going, how it feels, and the trajectory it's taking, then I just think it's the responsible thing to do as a parent,
Yeah.
to stop and address it, because they're not going to change. They're not going to not get addicted to something when you're addicted to something, just because you're saying don't.
Yeah. Also, question. If I've done the work after my kids are born, that still like affects them positively, right?
Absolutely.
Like, it doesn't have to be that do the work before you have your kids. I mean, it would be beautiful. It would be amazing that, they don't take it on from word go.
So when you take back what's yours, when you heal, you've essentially taken back the patterns that belong to you.
Okay.
So you kind of free up that space within their systems in many ways. See, with that epigenetics, it's really interesting. Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about this, and that is that you do not inherit a disease or an ailment. You are predisposed to it because of your beliefs, your behaviors. The patterns will tend to predispose you to doing things that will then make you more likely to inherit or to get certain things, which what we call inherited disease, right? Because,
Okay.
for example, if you were to inherit diabetes, would you not have it at birth?
Yeah.
So why get it at 40 or 35 or whatever the new normal is, right? So you're inheriting the patterns of behavior only because the person who initially carried it didn't address it. So if you address it, you're changing those patterns.
Okay.
So children will observe that, and they too will change their patterns,
Okay.
the same way. So it's really interesting how this works. There's the energetic aspect of things, or the not so tangible aspect of these things, okay,
Yeah.
which, people are like, oh, it's not proven neurologically and science doesn't prove it. And then there's we can see this. We've seen it happen in a lab, for example, how your thoughts will affect the outcome of certain things. I think it's really evolving in terms of, but whenever you decide to take the steering wheel, whenever you decide to make the change, I think is really great for
It's
your kids.
really great, right?
Yeah, for you and for your kids, for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, for me, this was really true because before I had my kids, I mean, I was still a child. I had no idea about any of this. It was like 2-3 years after they were born is when I started. I mean, I got introduced to different kinds of work. And one day, one day my little one goes to me, Mom, you've done this, you're doing this. You must love us so much. And at that time, I mean, I was doing all this because I realized the patterns and I wanted to work on myself. And I'm sure he was seeing the changes as well, right? And he's like, oh, you must love us so much. And I'm like, I do love you so much. And now I see
The
that
connection.
Yeah, the connection.
Yeah, how they built it.
But it would be so beautiful if everybody did the work. And again, I want to also bring this up, the continuity of the work. Like a lot of people do the work, do maybe a few sessions and stuff, and then they're like, okay, now I'm healed, now I'm all okay. Or now I have the tools to deal with this and I'll do it on my own. Is that the case? Or?
So in terms of, I'll give an example in how we work. For example, in therapy, we have a set number of sessions. We won't take anything less than that. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons, and people usually are like, because I charge up front for the full set of sessions, and people are like, why? And it's not because it's not the monetary aspect. It's because, like you said, you feel better after 4 sessions. And you're like, I don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
But it's like walking off an operating table, not realize that you don't feel the pain. You're still under anesthesia, but you've not been stitched back up. So to safeguard ourselves, we do this. So it really depends. If you've actually really seen a change through, and the great thing about the mind is it's not like the body. If I wanted a 6-pack, I got to change my diet. I got to go to the gym. The rest of it's going to take its time. The mind doesn't work like that. The mind auto-corrects so quickly. So if the coins dropped that's fine. And if you're, for example, if you're, getting therapy or in coaching or whatever, your therapist should be able to see that, okay, you know what, the coin's dropped. You don't need to come in for the 12 sessions. I mean, I don't think, for example, for us, we take 12 sessions. I don't think we've ever had any client who's actually finished full 12 sessions because we don't see the need for it after X number of sessions, right? But if it hasn't dropped and then you sort of move away, then you'll just fall back into your old patterns. Nothing changes there.
Okay.
It's just a matter of time. It's like you take a shower, you smell nice for 1 day, 2 days. By the third day, you realize that, okay, I need to get back in the shower.
Yeah.
But it's taken so long to break the pattern the first time to get help. Somebody's decided, they realize there's an issue. It's taken them, 5 years of back and forth in their head to say, fine, I'm going to get help. So when you fall back from there, we find it doesn't take people less time to go back for help.
Yes.
It takes people more time to go back for help.
Okay. I would assume because you've seen the changes, you might go back for what's so good, more.
So what's interesting, so when people do come back in a shorter period, it's because, like you said, shit has hit the fan a lot more than initially.
Okay.
Because the way things work in terms of homeostasis and balance is you think you overcompensate. So most of the time when people have small patterns that they wanted to seek help for, they think they're feeling great, they go back. When they go back, those patterns come back so much stronger and stick around for so much longer.
Okay.
So the hit is a lot more. So if somebody's coming to, let's say, I don't know, to quit smoking, you ask them, they're smoking 4 cigarettes a day, and then they suddenly think that they've achieved it, they're feeling better, so they quit midway. They may stay off it for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, but then when they go back, they're not at 4 cigarettes. For them to go back to 12, 15, takes a lot shorter time.
And then there's also like, this is not working because I've gone back.
Yes, so there's the guilt, and this is where your environment has a huge part to play in it, right? Because you tend to function at the level of your environment. So if you're, for example, surrounded amongst people who have no belief in you, you will tend to prove them right. And I say this to parents that you should be careful what you believe about your children because they will go out of their way to prove to you that you are right because they hold you in such regard. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So do you work with kids?
We do a lot of work with kids.
Okay.
But I don't work with children unless it's absolutely necessary.
Okay.
We work with children when it comes to things like autism, ADHD, brain balancing, okay? A lot of these things are neurological deficits. They're not... if you look at the spectrum for autism and ADHD today, on some level, almost every human being fits
I've heard
onto
this
it,
so
okay?
many times, yes.
So I'm very, very much against bringing a child in and labeling them something, okay? So in that respect, yes, we do.
Okay.
But when it comes to kids playing out, behavior issues, we don't address the child first. We tend to look at the parents.
Okay.
Because if you look at things like violence, for example, it comes from somewhere. It's not natural for this child of 3 or 4 to be so violent. So something has taught it or something has triggered it. So unless I find that, there's no point in dealing with the child because whatever the cause is, the root cause is still where it was, right?
Yeah.
So that's been a bit of a loss for us, to be really honest, because very often, and I don't think I should be saying this on camera, but I will, because it's important that it's said. Parents find it easier to part with money, to sign a check, to say, right, take my kid for therapy, or my kid's going through therapy, because in their head, they've checked a box saying, I've got them help. I'm doing something.
I'm doing the right thing. Yeah, I'm doing something.
So I lose a lot of clients like that, by the way. because of that. Because when parents might feel judged, that you're judging me when you're saying it's not the child. I need to see you and your wife, or you and your husband, or whatever. Because that's really where the work needs to happen. But like I said, it's easier to sign a check than it is to change your own patterns, isn't it? Always, for all of us. It's easier for me to get somebody to train my daughter to do something than for me to change and set the example for her to do it. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it is scary. Now, I wanted to ask you, like, give me one or two examples on like where people had breakthroughs, and what kind of breakthroughs, like from how it was before and what you see after, or even during, like some aha moments.
So the aha moments that I'm talking about are only valuable if they're going to translate into action on some level in your life. Okay, so I'll give an example. There was one of my clients who did the workshop with us. Okay. And she was training, she's going through a medical training, having a really rough time. And so she decides that she wants to quit.
Quit the workshop.
No, she wants to quit, her
Medical.
Yeah, her residency.
Oh.
And so I was like, no, let's just finish the workshop and we'll see. Okay. But so she was like a cat going for a bath. She was absolutely dreading it. But because she was a previous client, I could sort of, coax her into sticking around, because she only had 2 days of the workshop left, for example.
So this is empower her.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason I'm using that as an example is it's because it's very tangible, okay?
Okay.
So till then, she had been seeing us for coping mechanisms for different things, health, sleep, alopecia. Anyway, so she finishes the workshop, goes off the radar completely. And she was certain that she wanted to change her career path because this wasn't for her. She didn't have it in her. She couldn't cope. She couldn't deal with it, and she wasn't cut out for it, apparently. Although she was very passionate about it, which was my thing, that it matters a lot to you. That's why, otherwise, whatever works for you is fine. But in this particular case, you don't give up just because you believe you're not capable. Okay. You got to see it through fairly. Check. If you don't think you can run 100, meters, don't assume that. Just try it. If you pass out after 50, it's different. But anyway, so she finishes it. She goes off the radar, and then a couple of weeks, I think it's about a month or two later, she messages to say, I want to come and see you. And you know what? She was the only person who passed in her entire class.
Wow.
Yeah, she was the only one who actually ended up getting through.
That's so awesome.
And this is what I'm saying, that we get these small kinks in our belief system that we have inherited from somewhere. Somebody said something to you and you kind of held it,
Yeah.
And then we use those then to decide the trajectory of our life, which is really, really dangerous, I had another phenomenal client, a male, who was maybe at the top of his industry, business-wise, decided for some reason to give it up.
Okay.
And then started to just spiral down, completely nosedive. And he came to me because he wanted to get out of his depression, so that he could get his business back up. It was affecting their finances, their life. And in the sessions, he had a breakthrough in terms of why he decided to give up right at the peak of his career. And that was it. Just the switch flipped. He went back. He's back on his feet now. So it really, really depends on how long it takes. But I have never seen somebody who hasn't had the coin drop. And it's not because we do anything. It's just when you offer the right sort of mapping for somebody through their own behaviors and patterns, they tend to circle and they find it and like, okay. So even though they may not change their entire universe there and then, you can't undo it. See, once you've seen something, you can't unsee it, right?
Exactly.
So once they've become aware that this is the issue, they may sit on it. They may choose not to do something about it. But at some point, they will do something about it. So yeah, in terms of breakthroughs, like I said, we've had so many very, very interesting cases. But yeah, these two jump at me because this was a very astute businessman, and especially in places like Kenya, you don't have somebody of that kind of standing say, I'm broken. I feel so down. So it was really, for me, it was really interesting, first to have somebody of that, of that stature say, I need help. And then to see it through, which was even more interesting for me because they did the work. You said you gave them work to do and they did the work and you see the results. And on that note, sorry to digress, I'll just tell you, which is something that's really interesting for me. At one point, he wasn't making much headway. And I was like, it doesn't make sense because in the session, I can just see the harps are out. What happens when you go back home?
Okay.
So I asked him, what do you listen to anything? And he's like, yeah, I have a playlist that I find really soothing that I listen to every night. And I was like, okay, send me that playlist.
Okay.
And the first thing I did was stop him from listening to that music and I had him delete it.
Why?
Because you know what's really interesting? If you're feeling down and heartbroken, what's the first thing you do? You go to the most miserable song there is out there, isn't it?
Something that, you resonate.
That you can, yes, but the problem is that resonance creates more of that. And you won't believe, after he deleted it, this fellow just started to change things leaps and bounds. So small things like this affect us, right?
Imagine.
Yeah, that you wake up and you're having a bad day, you decided to put on this song, your favorite song.
Yeah. But the lyrics are not so awesome.
Yes, and what's very interesting is you combine an intention, a thought, and emotion, yes? When you're singing, there's always emotion, especially if it's your favorite song.
Yeah.
So you're singing away with full emotion, out with intention about this amazing or this really miserable heartbreak. You set certain things into motion. It's crazy.
I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing, but can you imagine how many things we do without knowing like that?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we were at an event on Friday and there was music there and there's a whole group of people there. And I had a therapist of mine with me, and I said, look, Nairobi's a small place, so, and what was really interesting, you will see from a mile away the kind of song somebody's absolutely going mad with. And then if you look at their life, it will reflect it straight back. It was insane.
Oh my God.
It's textbook.
Oh my God.
And your patterns, like I said, come through so evidently. Like you can see somebody walking and you'll know, okay, this person has an issue with their mother. This is what's happening in the family. There's been suicide. Because you log it all in your body and your behavior to that extent. So how can it be that we don't need to address these things?
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm going to look at my playlist first thing after this. Yeah, no, and also that's why I say I've done a bit of work on myself, and the first time I did the work, it was all anger that what I was addressing, and then I thought, oh, I'm all cured now, and then after some time, another course came up, and I'm like, okay, let me do this, and I did the same course that I did previously again, and then I realized, just like the soil, what I was addressing first, and then there's another layer, then there's another layer, right. And I was like, oh, I'm a work in progress.
Yes, aren't we all?
Yeah. So, first of all, when I joined, I didn't even think I needed any coaching or any help or any therapy, whatever we want to call it. I was like, my life is so good. My relation with everyone's so good. I'm a positive person and everything. But the thing that happened in my primary years came up.
Yeah.
We moved countries when I was about 12, 13. That came up. That was basically the judgment, I was holding on to. But so much came up. And then once you resolve that, then there was something else. There's always something else, because we're living our life daily. And then there's everything's happening every day. We're still living. We're talking to people. We're listening to all this music.
Correct.
So I feel like, yes, first of all, to start and then to obviously have a plan to continue would be amazing.
It would be. I think as women, sorry, I know your viewership is not just women, but because we're both women,
Yes,
I'll take the
why
liberty.
not?
Especially as women, I think what happens, actually, to be fair, let's scrap that. I think it's the same thing with men, right? There are so many layers because we've never really looked at us. See, one layer that you peel of judgment, if you really unpack it, that judgment didn't come from you. You may think it's your voice. These were other people's voices. They
Okay.
are other people's judgments that we then make our own. Okay, so you're done with that, and then there's the next level of voices. Then there's another level of voice. And that's because we've never really heard our voice. So we've got to keep peeling until we get to our voice, which works and which is necessary. But I think that to that equation, we need to add focusing inside outwards to sort of primarily first understand what is it that I want. Because the work only happens because something we want is not happening, isn't it? Usually that's where the issue, that's where the first insight is that, okay. Or you keep getting what you don't want. That's another reason most people start looking at, okay, I need to address something, because why do I keep ending up breaking up with my relationships? Why do I keep failing at business? And it's because something's not happening. But on that same note, if I said, here's a magic wand, what do you want? Do you know most people just don't have a response? I get things like, I want money. Depends. If you're earning 20,000 a month, you're loaded compared to somebody else. So when you say, I want money, what is it that you want?
Yeah.
And if you zoom in, you'll notice that we have been so afraid to set goals for ourselves because you just don't know what the expectations are. So it's better to just have a vague idea. So every time you unpack one thing, you find that somebody else's ideas have crept in from somewhere else. And this happens primarily with people, especially when they start hitting their 40s, where you have answers for everything and everybody. But when you look in the mirror, you don't have a response. And I think that's usually, especially nowadays, where I see people saying, okay, I need help.
Yes.
Because that person says, right, you've done this socially, right, you've done this way. What have you done for me? And then when you don't have a response, then...
Me as in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have people who will talk about betrayal. When somebody says, oh, this happened to me. But if you really, really look at it, who was the person that betrayed you first? It's always yourself.
But that's a hard one to face.
It is. And that's what I'm saying. Only when it's in your face do people look at, right, let me do something about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we don't.
Wow.
For as long as we can ignore that voice, we will, until it's right here. And then you're like, okay, you know what? Now I'm stuck. I got to do something about this.
Wow. Okay, so, if it was up to me and that magic wand you'd give me, I'd be like, okay, I want everybody listening to this, come on to empower her and do some inner work and any other program that you may come across. Because, only when we do that inner work, we'll find that voice, which is ours, or even a simple question of what do you want? What do I want, right?
Correct.
What do you want to tell them?
I think as a first step for anybody, whether they want to go for coaching or not, is first just stop and reflect and see what is it that you want. That, for me, has been where there's so much confusion between what I want as a person, when generally that's what you see. What I want is so influenced by what is expected of me. That if I want something different to what is expected of me, one, there's guilt, which, by the way, is a socially fabricated emotion. It's not really part of the package anyway.
Is it?
Yes, it's not normal. Do you see a baby feeling guilty? You've just given it a bath and there it goes, poops right there. Do you see guilt? No, it doesn't know. We teach them guilt because we have been taught to feel guilty.
No.
We teach shame, yes. These are not natural to us.
Okay.
So it's just identifying what you want and then deciding if you are worth investing yourself in.
Well, I'm sitting here and the answer is always yes, but then...
Is it? We say yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The answer is always yes, but are we doing the work? Are we ready to take that, So again, so what are some of the things people are scared about? Like why, if I ask somebody like, oh, I've done this work, like, would you be interested? Like when the coin dropped for me the first time, then the second time a different coin might have dropped. But I get so excited. I go and tell all my friends. I go and tell people, this happened to me. Like, you should do this, any work, any course. And they're like, no. They just look at me like I'm mad.
So we did this, right? How many brains do you have?
3.
Correct.
Yeah.
So even if you think you want to do something, unless your 3 brains are aligned,
okay,
you'll not do it. Because there's no alignment. It's like having 3 directors. Unless they all 3 sign off, you're not going to see it through, are you?
But it's like a catch-20. If once you do the work, your 3 brains are going to be aligned, or you even know about the 3 brains. Before you do the work, you don't even...
Correct. But this is the thing. This is where we sort of come in, and this is where maybe what you're doing comes in, where somewhere along the line, the need to create just awareness is also missing quite a bit, where people don't even realize that, hang on a second, I might be sabotaging myself because of X, Y, and Z factors, right? So I think it's got, like I said, it's all going to have to happen together. One, there's awareness, there's possibility, there's options. 2, we've got to deal with, okay, now that I know there's an option, what's stopping me from going there, right? And that's where, like I said, one of the biggest things is when you're not aligned within yourself. Your head wants something different, your gut wants something different, your heart wants something different, because they're all driven by different value systems, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And then it's, okay, fine. So something's wrong. Oh, this is what's stopping me. And then, do I have an option? Can I afford it? Where do I get the help? So I think it's just getting the ducks aligned, which I find we've not managed to do. Generally as society, when it comes to mental health, we're a very reactive, in a very reactive place. It has to be, things have gone belly up, you're in a serious crisis, and then you do it. Yeah. Rather than the other way around, where we need to be proactive about the whole thing.
Yeah. I totally resonate that we really need to be proactive about that, because that statistics that you gave, 1 in 4 people, like with 3 people sitting here, I could be one of them, and it's scary.
Yes, we could all be. Yes, yeah, it's
scary. Yeah.
And I think it's our responsibility, to be honest, because the children are watching. And that they're the most inflicted, if you ask me. Social media today, doom scrolling, what it's doing to their brain. I was, it's really interesting. I was listening to something, and, in the olden times, they always told you, write your goals down, write your diary, isn't it? And now we type. But do you know that you engage 140 neurons when you're writing versus 2 when you're typing? And the problem with this is, as much as it might seem efficient, what we don't realize is there's atrophy, which means the less that you use of a certain function, the body and the brain start saying, I don't need this. If you go back to your grandmother's time, what was her math like? If she had a bank account, or your grandfather had a bank account, they may not have gone to school. But you know what? They knew generally what their interest was, how much they should have in there, even though they're not going to the bank daily, right? They could compute so well. I remember when we were in school, we were only allowed to take in a calculator when we were doing our O-levels. We were not allowed to use a calculator or even take one to school until you're 10, 11 actually. And now if you look at it, just look at the basic ability to compute. Yep. Do you see it's gone down? And it's natural selection, right? Where, okay, I don't need it. I'm going to do away with it. And this is what's happening when we don't use our faculties, looking inwards as a faculty, to be able to introspect, exploring your emotions. All these are things that make us human. And if we stop using these, then we have a lot of issues that are coming our way.
Serious problems.
Yes, yeah. We do.
And also, what you said about the kids, right? We all, like, I'm a parent, so as parents, we want to give them the best, provide them, the best of everything, whether it comes to clothes or schooling or holidays or house or food or everything, right? I may not cook healthy for me. I'll be like, I'll just eat something simple. But when it comes to kids, I'll put in the effort and I'll make it, it's my kids, right? So even for kids, even for your own kids, do it. Do the inner work, because God knows what we're passing, on to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
It's just typically just articulating, right? When something's wrong. Just these basic things, if we learn to do them, then we teach them the same thing. It's so much easier rather than, you look at most people who don't fit into society, apparently, who find it difficult to integrate. It's not like there's anything majorly wrong with them. It's just unresolved issues.
Yeah.
If you can offer the right support, the right tools for them to process these things, they didn't need to go down that route.
Yeah. So from my example, I used to get so angry. And then when I started doing the inner work, I started having, a good grip on my anger. I would be able to stay calm more, talk to the kids, with a better voice and whatever. And the changes I saw in them, the way they started opening up to me, they started telling me things that they'd been hiding. Like my younger one, when he didn't like food at school, he would not have lunch.
But he won't tell you.
He won't tell me. And I'm like, this is just about lunch that he's not sharing. And us as parents, I'm going to my, kid's friend. I want my kids to tell me everything. But when he tells me that I'm not having lunch, Mom, because I don't like it, my first reaction the first time he told me was, I got so angry. We're seated right here. I'm crying. I'm shouting at him. He's crying. I'm feeding him the food that he doesn't like. Oh my God. Then after doing the work, I went back to that and I said, I'm really sorry. And we worked through that. Then next time, he's like, Mom, I didn't have lunch today. I said, no problem. I'm really sorry. I'm sure you're hungry. What do you feel like having? He's like, I want an ice cream. I didn't argue with him. I just went with him for an ice cream. Some people might be saying, no, that's wrong right now. It doesn't matter. But I was able to stay calm.
Yeah.
And then
huge win.
After that, I had a conversation with him that, Ansh, I don't like that you're not having lunch. What can we do about it? And then we were able to reach, a solution that these days I don't like food, so you'll pack for me from home, which works. And now he doesn't go hungry, and at least he's able to share, and that's what we want.
So see, our response, again, is very rarely about just the situation.
Yeah.
It's about the other things that you're holding, right? And children just become collateral damage so easily, don't they? I mean, when we were training in therapy, I think every female who was a mother in my class, we just spent our time just wailing and thinking, oh my God, I broke my children, I messed them up. Because you realize that, this misplaced anger, the way you respond to things, the impact it has on them. Just something simple like when you learn that, okay, you know what, the subconscious mind cannot really hear a negative command. And then you think of all the times you told your child, don't do this, and they do it. And the more they do it, the more angry you get. Only to realize, hang on a second, they can't actually hear the word don't. Why isn't this common knowledge? Why doesn't anybody tell new parents that there is a language that actually the brain understands, and then there is language the brain doesn't understand? You walk in and you're saying to your child, don't climb on this grill, you'll fall. And
then
5 minutes later,
go.
they fall because they can't hear the don't climb the grill. They can only hear climb the grill, you'll fall. And guess what? Because of where they hold you again as a parent, they will go out of their way to make sure that you are right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm so scared.
I think you've looked at this and you've done a lot of work towards it. And I think you understand that, rather than just saying, come down. It's all it takes, right?
Or, I've learned that they're going to go up, so I'd rather teach them the technique on how to go up and how to come down safely, right?
Yeah, that's another option, right?
Yeah.
Just empower them to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. See, it's these small things that we don't realize. And the reason I'm mentioning some of these things that might seem so irrelevant is because these are the experiences on which you will build your own belief system and make your choices. Later in life, you have, and this happens a lot with boys, you bring them a new toy and 3 days later, it's demolished, yes? And you do it once and you do it twice. And then the third time, you're like, you know what? You don't deserve any more toys. You keep destroying everything I bring for you, right? God. Now, this child is not doing it to destroy the toy. He's very interested. He's figured out that if I pull this car this way and this is how it moves. He's got what there is to get from it. But now he wants to know what's making it move inside there. So what does he do? He dismantles the whole dude. He can't articulate that it's inquisitiveness, right? We don't understand that. So what do you say to him? You don't deserve.
Why those words, you don't deserve, because then throughout his life, that's the tape recorder that's playing.
Yes. So when he will work like a donkey, he will work really hard, and then he'll get to that place where he's now just become successful, and he will do something. Why? Because at that point it will remind him, you don't deserve it. He will carry that through into his relationships. He will keep every relationship which was pathetic, don't you see that in your social life where you think like, what is he doing with her? Why did he let such a nice girl who was a companion go? Or whatever it is that happens to us in our own judgments. And then you realize that, hang on a second, it's his belief about himself. And imagine when it was implanted.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I'm coming back. I'm coming for that workshop that you mentioned at the start of.
Parent one.
Yes, empower her.
Yes. So
I'm coming back.
So we've just announced the next workshop. Well, it will be on the 24th of June.
Okay.
The timings, usually we'll have a morning session and an evening session.
Online?
It will be online, yes, just to allow for the working women, mothers who'd rather sit down after their kids have gone to bed or whatever. And then we still have a session in the morning just for those who feel like I have more time, when everyone's out of the house, if that's what it is.
So how many days?
5 days.
5 days. Oh, that's doable.
Yeah, it's 5 days. It's between 90 minutes and 2 hours. Usually it's 90 minutes, the session. We've had the odd session that's gone over because everyone was like,
Wants
in a
to
zone.
share.
Yeah, and wants to share.
I love
which
that.
is-
I love that when
yeah,
that happens.
Yeah.
Because then you feel like you're not alone. You're not alone going through
Correct.
different problems, but similar,
Yeah.
what do you say, patterns, yeah.
Yeah. And that was the whole idea behind it, right? To just make people understand that there's nothing wrong with you. Because when we say you're not alone, it's, we know others are going through things, but somewhere we would think that, I'm not capable. She's running her house just fine. She doesn't seem to have a problem with this. It's just me. And it's to show you that, no, it's not just you. Everything might look really glorious, but it not always is on the inside. So, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Krishma. Is there anything
You're
else
very
you want to add?
No, except that just take time to stop to look inside, because everything that we don't address doesn't go away. It just gets pushed. You just push the can down the road. It appears as ailment. It appears as, now they're saying, dementia, Alzheimer's. They're all linked to these things, right? So look at it, not because there's something wrong, only because you deserve the best, right? And to get the best, you just got to look inside first. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.